It's getting warmer and warmer, and with the warmth, there are more and more people coming to Cha0sHof. In this video, you'll see us preparing more beds and also seeding and planting. We covered our pumpkin space with manure. We also produced homemade wood chips, and we worked on the foundation for the new greenhouse.
One of the really fascinating things about farming is watching plants grow. In this case, bush beans. This bush bean is gonna grow in the continuous time lapse of 2 weeks into a thick and big plant. From a bean to a plant that is 15 centimeters big and will be planted at the end of it. This is just incredible for me always to witness and to wrap my hand around it. Like always, before we plant anything, we try to loosen the ground to give it more oxygen. As our broad fork is still in reparation, we do this with a normal fork. Here I'm planting the bush beans in 4 rows next to each other. While I was planting the bush beans, mangold was planted and also a lot of our plot has been mown. An always returning task is taking care about the weeds and the bed preparation. This is something that we put a lot of focus now in spring, as this will help us out over the whole season. Managing the weeds early helps you having less of them during the season and gives more space to your crop plants. We also have been able to harvest very early on some spring garlic and onions, which is a very pleasing feeling. In last fall, our neighbor plowed and harrowed this particular part or plot on our land. We also got quite an amount of compost out of sheep droppings from him as well. This part will be used for our pumpkins. As they usually overgrow everything else, we decided to give them a special plot. Just before we put the compost on it, we used a tiller to turn over the whole plot. Spreading this mountain of sheep dropping compost was quite hard work. As we already loosened the ground, we couldn't use the tractor on it, but we had a lot of fun doing it. First, we used shovels and a hoe to put everything onto the ground loosely in a thin layer and spread it, and then we used our tiller to work it into the ground. We actually had pretty good weather to do this on a very dry ground, but something I totally underestimated was the wetness or humidity of the compost. After a couple of passes, our tiller totally clogged up due to the fact that the clay earth was so wet that it clogged the whole system. So we just gave it a few passes after that. Sticks and branches is something that you will end up in farming, as they come from hedges that you have to trim or fruit trees which need trimming. As we didn't want to invest a lot of money into wood chips again this year for the pathways on the market garden, we simply helped our neighbor out, chipping them down, and then used them on the pathways on the market garden. Last year we used our own electric garden graded shredder to produce a lot of those wood chips. But the amount and the sheer sizes of branches you can put into that machine is on a different level. And as we had multiple cubic meters to do, very pleased to be able to use a machine such as this. And so the afternoon continued, and we filled up nearly 2 times this trailer, which is quite a substantial amount. Although it's hard to tell in this video, on the left hand side the pathways between the beds are from the very top until the white meshes already done, which is a lot. As taking care about our young plants, seeding new, directly seeding into the market garden, harvesting and watering them takes a lot of time away from this project, our not so secret project is plodding along, not too fast but consistently. As mentioned in the last video, I didn't rent the digger this time, although I promised to myself never dig in that soil. I kind of did, as a friend of ours came by and started digging for me. Couple of hours and just a little bit of swearing later, we were able to start the first layer of gravel for the foundation. This layer will be used to level out all unevenness of the earth that we produced to shoveling it, and it also should hinder a little bit the water going into the foundation underneath the concrete. At this point I want to put a disclaimer: we are not professionals and this is more for entertainment than for show and tell purpose how you should do a foundation.
Nicht mehr viele Schubkarren davon, habe ich das Gefühl, ne? So wie das ausschaut. Was sagst du?
At this point we're starting to use a laser to measure the depth of this foundation pit all around the new greenhouse. And as we did quite a good job already on digging it, it turns out that we are very close, within a reach of 4 millimeters around the whole perimeter which we had put gravel on. This is not the only prep work which has been happening for the greenhouse in the last couple of weeks. We started sanding all the beams, columns and substructure for it, which is quite a task and time consuming, so you just see a bit of it. The only nice thing about sanding is afterwards you get to finish the surface. In this case we're using a water-based white paint, after which we will use a water-based clear coat in at least one layer. After we have sanded all sides, rounded over the corners, and then again cleaned up the rounded corners, used the air compressor to get off all the sand bits, it was finally time to put on the first layer of paint. We will be ending up putting 2 layers on it. In this tiny bit of the video, you're just gonna see us painting those 5 beams. And the most satisfying part for me is when one of those beams goes from the left to the right side, as this means for me that it's finished with a layer of paint. And in the background on the right hand side you can see all the beams and columns we still have to paint. But we're not gonna make you sit down and watch it through this video. In the end we decided to go with 2 layers of paint, as one layer was not covering well enough the wood structure. You can see the pieces left out which are part of the joinery, which not necessarily have to be painted, but may get 1 layer of clear coat just as a protection. And looking at the result right now, I'm pretty pleased that we used 2 layers of that coating. And with that, we are at the end of our video. I hope you have enjoyed it and see you soon.